an announcement on Discord, Tyler, and then if you want to take care of X right now.
Yes. Well, the X thing is they're just gonna see it live.
Oh, it's automatic.
So,
Okay, cool.
yeah. Right. Let me pull up the chat here while we're getting started. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Hello, hello, hello. If you guys are out there, let us know that you are here with us in the chat. We got a good one for you guys today, and I at first, Gerde, when I hit you up, I was like, man, we just rebranded to the AI Slop review, but I would hate to call what you make slop.
Hey man, people have been known to call it that. I also disagree with that sentiment, but it's been thrown around.
Well, I think one of the standard questions that we kind of have to ask everyone when they come on here, and we'll talk about this towards the end of the whole thing, is kind of like, what is slop to you? Because to the outsider looking in, we're all slop, right?
It's crazy because like in here we kind of repurpose the term as like we kind of use it as a term of endearment that we're all kind of doing that. But it's a long-winded response to what I think slop is, because I do think that there is a subsection of stuff that's being made and will continue to be made and long into the future that's overall bad for the integrity of what we're trying to do here as people really in this space. And I work really hard to try and make stuff that I care about. And, I see a lot of stuff out there that doesn't have that. And, Tyler, you and I might make very different things, but you care about what you make a lot, though, and you work really hard at it because you want it to be a specific thing. It's very intentional. It might be kind of out there, but it's intentional. It's not cheap laughs, it's not cheap thrills. And I think that's what it is people that go and they look for whatever idea they can find that might get them some viral credibility, or whether that's ripping other people off or just using contemporary things that are out there and just only doing that. If you're trying new things, yes.
Hold that thought. We're gonna come back to this.
Oh, okay, my bad. I launched into it.
It's too early for that one. But I've stored it. We're gonna come back to it. Yeah. First off, because we have a decent number of people in here. More are gonna be joining in. First of all, thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to the AI Slop review. I am JBoogs Creative. We have Angry Penguin. We have our fearless leader Fabian. And today we are joined by, when I say legend, I mean it in every sense of the word. Gerde was the first AI creator to surpass 1 million followers on social media, and that is undisputed. So, with that being said, Gerde, even though I'm sure everyone here knows who you are, why don't you tell the people who you are, what you do, and maybe what you did before what you're known for now?
Yeah, no, I'm James Gerde, and colloquially known as Gerdegotit, or Gerde Does It, or Gerde Made It, and we'll get into all the different stuff for that. But I mostly focus on video-to-video stuff, which originally started with like taking TikTok dances and turning them into statues, and then kind of turned into ballet and contemporary, into nature and more beautiful things, and have kind of created my own kind of living art gallery on Instagram that has grown to, across platforms, over 2.5 million as of right now. And I also mess around with just about everything else because I do this full time. I run a commercial production studio that kind of focuses around the stuff I do, but we do a little bit of everything to those that pay very close attention to what I and JBoog do. We collaborated on a music video for Raekwon from Wu-Tang Clan not too long ago, which is, a little bit closer to what I used to do before this stuff came around a few years ago. I was a music video director. I directed other things too, and sometimes did commercial stuff, a lot of event stuff, a lot of nightclub photography, things like that. But the main gig was I made music videos for small local rappers in Seattle, and that is yeah. You can see behind me, I got a canvas print, one of my best friends, but that's from one of the first music videos I ever shot, and so that just always is kind of sitting around in my office. But yeah.
That's incredible. Are you still picking up a real camera these days?
Not as much as I would like to. Every time I do, I think a couple months ago, I went out with a DJ friend of mine and took some photos of him. And I hadn't done like an actual photo shoot for anybody in like 6-8 months. And they were incredible though. Like I still got it in me, and I still got the itch because I love to do it. I did it for so long. But unfortunately, I'm sitting here and my webcam right now is my cinema camera, which is, that kind of says a lot about how infrequently I pick up my gear anymore, is that I use it for this type of stuff. So not as much as I would like to, but that is the goal, is to get back to that. My dream is to direct feature-length films someday.
Well, you do have a new camera now. Of sorts.
Yes. No, and that's the thing, is just everything kind of carries you in certain directions, and I really like this place I found my way in. I have inadvertently been able to work on some films through this, as well as share kind of my own creative vision and how I see the world with a lot of people through doing this. So it's been really cool, and it's opening the door to where I get to, if there was ever a way for me to get into the film industry and find my way into directing and being a part of the filmmaking process, I think I'm doing the right thing.
So let's talk about it. Let's kind of go back to the beginning just for a little bit. What did you see that made you want to get into this stuff, and what was your first touch point with AI, and like at the moment when you like grabbed it and really started running with it?
Yeah, so the first touch point with AI was I remember very clearly a night that I was like kind of on break and bored. It was slow at the disco I was working at like 1 a.m. And I had kind of like come across this link and saved it for a website where you could kind of draw a picture, sort of an MS Paint type thing, but the different brushes would then be rendered into like different materials. And so like you would get one that did like stone, and one that did trees, and one that did sky, and you would do that, and then it would like render this thing out, and it was all AI based. And I was like, this is a fascinating, interesting thing. Following that, and actually if you scroll down, keep going a little bit more, you can find right up just a little bit, that's all my like photography stuff. I think the first one that's on there is going to be that one of my faces. Yeah. And so that is when a friend sent me Deforum, and I was like, I tuned an SD 1.4 model on my face, and I started doing Deforum runs, and I was hooked. I was like, I don't know what this is. For my, musician clients, maybe I can make little reels for them of stuff, and like I can do some things. Like there's some way that I can fit this into what I do as like some FX stuff. And in that Deforum notebook was a section for doing video, where you could like put an input video, but it didn't work well. So I didn't really mess around with it until a little bit down the line, a couple months later. The same friend that had sent me the Deforum notebook sent me the Warp Fusion notebook. And it was clunky and like a lot. And so I mostly messed around with image to video until that one right there, actually, the one that was the multicolor version of me, I think was the first warp run I did. Yeah, see,
And were you doing this
the image to video, and then it does the warp one.
Were you doing this like in Google Colab, like trying to get the A100?
I sure was doing it on an A100 in Google
days,
Colab, and just spending so much money. But I would get home at like 3 in the morning from this nightclub gig I was working, and I'd be dropping photos off my memory cards, and I would just spin one of these up and start playing around with it, and it was weird, but it was so cool, and I was like, I want to learn this so I can use it in the music videos I'm making. As like an effect that nobody else is doing because nobody else is playing with this stuff right now. And then through doing these tech demos is when we got to the statue stuff. That one's really fun because I felt like I was really bad at it all. And then this one, I had no idea what to do for the settings. And then, someone in the Discord dropped a settings file and said, try these. And that person was Kytra.
Kytra, shout out to
Oh,
Kytra,
yeah.
the legend, the legend. You talk, you're
Yeah.
the guest, but man, Kytra she exploded the whole thing for me. I would not be J-Boog's creative if it was not for Kytra, and I will say that out loud.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know how to use any of this, and she dropped a settings file in, and I just plugged it in, and it did this. And this was the first one that I was like, oh, there's really something here. This is interesting. And then, yeah, obviously it was like not super long after that I got to the statue one. That first one on the left is
Oh baby.
yeah. And that changed at that point it went from me doing tech demos to I need to focus on this a little bit and figure out what the direction is and what I'm doing. And a little bit after this, you can see I kind of messed around with some different sorts of videos after this.
Wait. In hindsight, with that video, because after this one, then okay, you messed around with a few other types, but with this video and then the statue videos that came after it, in hindsight, where you are right now, how does it feel knowing that you were actually the cultural zeitgeist for AI animation in this specific moment?
It's very cool having a touchstone to that. I can walk down the street and basically walk up on any person and ask them if they've like seen that video, or more specifically the Hercules
this
one
one right
because it
here.
was bigger, and everybody has. And it's weird because it only has 60 million views on here or whatever, but it had hundreds and hundreds of millions of views across every other platform, just not on my accounts. They got output so much everywhere else, and so it's one of those videos that like everybody's familiar with, and that feels pretty cool to have one of those, to kind of have that like historical mark for a moment, even if it gets forgotten about because we're still continuing and growing into new things. But it was an era, I mean, to put this in perspective, because you know numbers and how this stuff works on here, Boog, of, like engagement stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was posting every day at this point. At this point, I was posting every 24 hours. I was posting at 9 in the morning PST. And a good day was when it had 10,000 likes and 100,000 plays within an hour. Every single day.
That's
which
insane.
are insane numbers, right? I had the Elon
insane,
comment on it. Yeah.
Elon commenting on it felt like oh, everyone needs to pay attention to this now.
Man, my dad showed me that. I didn't even see it. There was so much happening, and I was hanging out with my dad, and he like Googled me, and there was like a TechCrunch article or something that was like Elon Musk wowed by James Gerde's statue animation, and I was like, what's going on?
I think the thing we forget, like in today's environment, is like now you can just go on like any service and kind of generate with like one animate or something like that. But back then, this was so hard to pull off. Like you had to go in collab, you had to pray that you got an A100, do the render. Like it was like really an art form. I mean, it still is, but even more so in the early days. It was just so hard to pull off.
Well, it was just so experimental too, because
Yeah.
even if you had everything working right, it was still so hit or miss. Um, and so it was all just full experimentation every single time. Nobody knew what would work. And like obviously looking back on, it's like they're all pretty rough, but at the time it was magical to look at. None of us had ever seen anything like this.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Can you OGs of that era speak a bit to like how long it would take to make one of these?
So there's a fun story about the like Hercules one and subsequent ones to follow until I kind of figured it out. Um, that was in, I believe, the Warp Fusion 12 notebook. So one of the kind of older ones. Um, and at the time, all I really knew was that more steps equated to more quality, which is true,
Sounds
but
good.
also not, because I was kind of a dummy. So each frame of this was rendered at 80 steps at 1080p.
Okay. Okay.
It took, and this is only half the video. I cut the video in half after it was done. It was twice as long as this. It was 22 seconds. It's 11 seconds on here.
So this took hours to render.
Oh, it took like 16 hours to render. It took like most of a day. Now, most of them, I eventually kind of figured out what I was doing and found where like the sweet spot was for the amount of steps. But a typical day, because I was putting one of these out every day, I had to allot about 8 hours for render time. I had to allot a couple hours for testing just to make sure it was good. And I had to do a bunch of scrolling on Instagram, which I would normally double up with the render time. So like for the next day, I would scroll on Instagram and look for the next video that I would render. But I would usually do that for like 4 to 6 hours a day too. So it was a full-time job in itself, just trying to pump one of these out every day. But they were it's the reason that instead of growing to about 200,000 followers, I grew to 800,000 off of just this 90 days where I was posting like every day. Yeah.
And like while we're in the walking barefoot through the snow to the A100 mode, like tell the kids, were you able, like when you were rendering for 8 hours, like you wouldn't know how it would come out. Like you could see individual images as testers first, but you'd never know like if the whole thing is gonna work, right?
No, well, and that's the thing, right? Is that and I think we still know that, but I guess it's different now with the way if you're trying to do video to video because of the way context stuff works. Yeah, you just see the whole thing. With this, you could see every frame output. And so we had this trick. I can't remember what the program was called, but it was one where you could drop
D something, but it was a video player. It started with a D, and you could literally drag in a single PNG from the PNG folder that these were being output to, and it would just play the entire sequence.
So you could test it in real time, which was very, very helpful. It wasn't perfect because it didn't have the blending and stuff, but it gave you an understanding of if it was turning out the way you wanted. But I would sit there and just watch each frame output, because if it started to turn into a human or something weird would start to happen, I'd have to kill the render and start over, right? and so yeah, that was the big headache of it, was that it's still the same thing I deal with Animate Diff now. I think it's just a little bit easier and comfy to jump around and skip frames and play with different parts of the sequence and then kind of like run the whole thing.
Process-wise, it's like not that far off from, working with analog film and photography. Because you do have this like waiting period, and because you have the waiting period, like you need to put in more work into your concept and like how you sort of set things up, how you think about, like, I mean, obviously there's different things you think about when you do analog photography. You think about light, you think about sort of exposure and all these settings. But there is kind of like a parallel to it, is there not?
Yeah, I actually think that those specific things are still, like, all the other things that you said are still extremely relevant to this too. And I think especially in the more like modern stuff that I do, my biggest focuses in what I do are composition and lighting, because that's what makes anything look good when we're looking at it. Um, so yeah, that's a very, very good example of it. Composition and lighting are very, very important. In the same way, you can make a render that looks good and put cool things into it, but really we're looking for realistic and unique shadows and color palettes. And composition that draws the eyes to where you want them to be, especially when we're dealing with me building scenes and compositing people into them. The people have to fit naturally into the scenes. It has to feel right. Um, that's a good one. That's a more experimental one. That one didn't get enough love.
So something that I have always admired about you is that no matter where the landscape of all of this stuff has went and how the tools have evolved and kind of what the meta, if you will, turned into for what kind of like gained views and what was popular and just however the landscape shifted, you have always done what you do. You like slowly creep the new tools into it, and we see these quality upticks when it happens. But you have kept your intention very much alive despite the ever increasing endless amount of noise that's created across social. And I don't think people understand how difficult it is to maintain that type of vision with so much noise constantly being fed to you. So I've always really appreciated that about your work.
Thank you. I think it's there's a plus and a negative to it, right? Like the plus is that I love refinement of the, like, when I'm comfortable with something, I just want to learn everything I can about it. And so the reason that I don't always put out, things with the newest things that are coming out right away is because I'm not comfortable with them yet. And I'm not just trying to make whatever I can with it. I'm trying to make something really intentional. Now, the other side of that is I'm the type of person that when I would buy a new camera, I wouldn't use it for 6 months because I wasn't comfortable with it yet. And it would just kind of sit around until I eventually got around to figuring it out. And I have a big problem with that. And so that's a similar sort of thing here, is that I kind of get stuck in the comfortable, but I do push myself to refine with it and find new things I can do. So there's positives and negatives. And so again, that's the idea of the 3 accounts. Is on the third account, I can mess around with One Animate stuff, where I know that One Animate's going to be really big for me coming soon. It's going to be what I want to do, but it's not really there yet for me to feel like I'm fully artistically invested. The Wolf of Wall Street one right there is probably that's like the big recent one.
I love too that in the comments, no one's like expressing hatred or anything like that. It's pure just like love, enjoyment for the art, like what you're doing, really.
This was something I've always been jealous of, the audience that you have cultivated for yourself, because they're just like, because of the type of stuff you make, they're all so
like peaceful,
peaceful and emotional and lovey-dovey, and my audience is so.
Well, there's no room for people to come in and be like, to say really mean, horrible things, or gross stuff. Or they used to, though. When I was doing the statues, it was a lot of innuendo about the statues. People were pretty gross back then, but not anymore now. And over here on the third page, I catch a lot more hate for stuff because I am, I'll show my face and I'll talk about things, or I do these side by sides, and people get pretty upset about this stuff. And because it's a little bit more for the average viewer that's not like invested in it. The main art pieces are, I'm developing it's a large niche, but it is still kind of its own sort of thing. This casts a wider net at more like random people, and so they often have more things to say, and usually things that are a little bit less nice. Depending, it's more of a mixed bag. We still get a lot of people that are interested in it, but
Yeah, man, it's so crazy to see how things have kind of like, even just like going back and looking at the old statue videos now to even just looking at the newer stuff that you've done. It's crazy to see how far everything has come in as short of a time. But I do wanna kind of bring it into some of the more recent stuff you've been doing, because I've noticed this theme across a lot of your newer videos of you have the subjects playing catch, or sometimes they're just kicking the ball by themselves. And one, I love how you set up these compositions. Like the idea of like the juggling the ball off the rock is so cool and so sick. But I love these little like the themes you have going here of just like the two characters having like just a moment.
It's playful, as where I think that the dance stuff, as much as people loved it, especially with like ballet and contemporary, beautiful human expression. I think, to me, I'm not a dancer at all, not my thing. But like this one specifically, this is a video I took of one of my mentors and really good friends, who was my dad's best friend when I was a kid. He helped teach me how to play baseball, and his nephew, who's 10, playing catch. We were out throwing and hitting in a batting cage, like, because that's what I do every week when the weather's nice. And I was like, hold up, guys, I'm gonna film you for a second, and I made this out of it. And I had been wanting to do that for a while because baseball is very important to me. And like I grew up, I was a 3-sport athlete growing up. Going outside and playing games with my friends and throwing a ball around that's it for me. That's peak nostalgia. That's my favorite thing to do. And that's why I think that the playful side of things is so important, especially as we get older. I think a friend of mine said this to me the other day while we were out. She said, we all need a bit more playtime. Like we all kind of forget about that it's like really important to just go have fun and like goof off. And that can be whatever your version is. Her version of that is going to a club and dancing all night. My version of that is going outside with my 5-year-old stepson and throwing a ball around and laughing and, just being silly. And or I'm an avid snowboarder, and I go and I do that with my dad every year, and like that sort of stuff. So it's yeah, man, I think that's why I kind of found my way into this place where I'm at now, is that I think that and especially to everybody who's on their phone scrolling through stuff, they could be doing something fun, connecting with other people. Or even if it is just by themselves throwing a ball off a wall or something. So yeah, that's kind of why we got there.
There's like additional wholesomeness to the thing, I feel, knowing that a lot of these are based on videos that, like real videos that you took, right? So it's not like a screen grab from somewhere. It's like there's like grounding in the real world.
A lot of them
videos that
are
you
screen
took.
grabs, to be fair. The majority of them are screen grabs, and it's mostly because like, how am I'm not easily going to be able to get access to people diving, but
Sure.
I was very inspired by the idea, and if I had access to that, I would be able to film it. But there are cherry picked through here a number of videos that I did film myself.
Man,
Really cool.
looking at all these, and so I just because you and I do have a lot of history together, I remember there was a night when you and I were talking on Discord, and I think I forget which one of us DM'd each other first, but we had both made a video that we wanted to show each other because we thought we had cracked, like we figured something new out, and we were like, "Oh, dude, there's some like I have something here you got to see." You showed me.
No, it's the one at the top. It's pinned, but it is that. But it's there it is.
There it is. The
I
pasta.
showed
Oh,
you
I remember
that,
this being everywhere.
and you
Yeah,
said
yeah,
no
yeah.
way, and also showed me a food video that you.
we
and
were
like, oh.
we were on the exact same wavelength, and like, dude, figuring out the static background compositing unlock in Animate Diff in Comfy and putting that extra manual work in After Effects was such a game changer at the time.
Yeah, and it's funny because I kind of did a half and half. Like I let the top of the background be a little bit more out there for some flair, but I really just wanted the plate to hold well because I wanted the reflections and the shadows on it. But yours were always much more consistent. I guess my backgrounds occasionally are a bit more like that now, but your backgrounds were far more consistent than mine were.
This was the one that we did together.
That was the one that we did together. 10 million views. That's the most I've ever had on a collab before. Yeah. I said we gotta run it back, man. We gotta do another one.
So for the people watching, what, like, they see these videos, they see the insane numbers, they see the insane like follower growth, and there's a very common misconception that people have that maybe are just starting out trying to grow their social media, or they're trying to get into this, where like they look at larger creators and they look at the numbers, and they, in their head, those numbers equate 1-to-1 to dollars. And so like, where for all the stuff that you've done, how did this drip into your professional world, and how did, like, what was the route there for you based on the work that you're putting out?
I do large numbers on Instagram, which helps me do semi-large numbers on LinkedIn, which helps me convince clients to hire me for commercials, which then they say, we love what you do so much. Now do something that has nothing to do with that. And then I struggle my way through that, learning whatever processes I need to do. And not struggle. I mean, I have a great time, and I'm good at basically everything with this now. But this was the learning curve early on. Was people would come to me, they'd be like, we love what you do. We want to hire you to do something that's completely different than that. And then I would have to figure that out. And it was tough because this was a different world. Like, put a camera in my hands, ask me to film something for a commercial. I got you. I'll put together a crew. We'll do the whole thing. Ask me to do the stuff that I'm doing on here right now. Awesome. But typically it's in some sort of weird middle ground because lots of expectations towards things being like a magic button. And so I think, there's this common misconception from all the way outside of people that aren't involved, that people like us using these processes are some sort of grifters. I work so hard to be able to make a living for me and my family. It's a tough world out here. And the Instagram stuff only gives me an extra bargaining chip for putting my name in places. Hey, you should bring me onto this because I know what I'm talking about, because 2 million other people also think that I know what I'm talking about. That's it.
And I mean,
all,
obviously,
that's all
there's gonna be like a bunch of potential clients in those 2 millions, right? So
not really.
at these numbers, not really.
I mean, kind of, but the majority of my work comes from LinkedIn, actually, and that would be the biggest thing. If you're trying to make a career out of this and you're trying to solo it and be a freelancer doing this sort of stuff, go get on LinkedIn. They don't have enough artists on there, and That's where all of the business people are. I have 17,500 followers on LinkedIn right now. I go viral there once every couple months, and that's where the majority of email generation's from. I also have a team of a couple of people that are on there constantly, as well as all over other corners of the internet, doing outreach, reaching out to every possible company and just talking to them and seeing where things make sense and making relationships and doing that. It's not a one person job. It's not something that I can even do myself, because I have to make all this stuff, and then we have to talk to people and get in rooms with people, and it's yeah. So not that we haven't gotten gigs from Instagram before. That's how we got the Raekwon stuff. Was we sent him a DM and we're like, hey, been a fan for forever, would love to work. And he reached out, and I did some concert visuals for him. And then a year later, he swung back and we made the music video. So, there is benefit to the Instagram stuff, but I think that it's looked at as more important than it should be.
I would agree with that. I would largely agree with that. And I would say that Instagram, even for me, has just played itself as a bargaining chip for everything that actually could bring money.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's the nature of it, right? Like, you look at it, marketing heads and CEOs aren't spending their time doom scrolling Instagram. But to be able to package up a deck and share the numbers with them and say, look at what I've been able to do on my own, completely organic. Here's where I might be a benefit to you guys.
Well, also it's kind of like, obviously, when you're like working for a marketing agency, or you're kind of like doing marketing for a brand, like a lot of that is going to happen on Instagram, right?
Mhm.
And so having someone working with you who's sort of like very consistently been able, and you've done that over 3 different accounts, which is something we talked about pre-chat. It's kind of, you have one account with 2 million followers, you have another one which is like a side account with what, 500K or something,
Like
and then 300, and then another
300K.
one with like 40, right?
Yeah.
And so that just goes to show that there's skill involved in packaging the content in a way where it resonates, which is exactly what you'd want when you have a brand. So so there's this additional effect, I guess, that just basically is like, well, this person knows what they're doing.
No,
And
absolutely. It is a place that is often overlooked, which is why I've gone around the world at this point speaking at marketing conferences, and people wanting to know, because the big point to all of this that I've done is it's been entirely organic. I've never spent any money on advertising. I've never tried to push it like that. I just make stuff and put it out. The closest I've gotten to marketing stuff is these videos we're looking at right now that are like side by sides, because I know people like that stuff. Like, it's a little bit of an engagement bait because it shows people both sides. But I'm not, I'm not tricking people. It's not, hey, here's the 10 newest things people have done with Chat GPT as a Twitter thread, like, it's not that type of stuff. I don't,
Since you're kind of in these rooms talking to these like marketing heads, like, in your opinion, how is AI sort of changing or adjusting like the landscape for that? And like, do you have any tips for people trying to navigate that right now?
I don't think anybody knows yet. I think that everybody is still in the early gambling phase as far as marketing stuff goes, because everybody wants to use it. Everybody wants to find the place for it. But the one thing they don't want is they don't want it to feel like the stale AI slop that a lot of commercial AI projects can feel like. It's different for companies focused around AI, So like what you guys are doing with Glyph is awesome, because you have real people in the community making really cool things with the actual product you're selling. And like, it's creating a fan base for the things you do with the platform. On the other hand, we have Coca-Cola ads. I don't really understand it. I feel like if you got that much money, you might as well just do it all practically and make it look awesome. I mean, do what you want, right? I would love it if we talked about a gig, but I would love to see more of a combination in things. And I feel like there's so many people are trying to find space for it, and it's cool seeing them take risks, and I want them to take risks because I want to get in and be a part of those risks. But I think intentionality with those risks is very, very important, and I feel like that's what I bring when I go into these rooms and I talk to these people is I'm like, hey, I like the idea, let's find a place to blend it in and make it work. Like I bring this up a lot. Some of the most frequent comments I'll get when my posts go like viral is I'll get new people who have never seen my work commenting on it that say, I normally hate AI, but I love this. And
That's a good one.
I approach these companies and I say, let me be the bridge. Let me be the bridge to bring you guys to the people that would normally dislike it and give them a reason to love it and be involved and be okay with it, because that's the thing it doesn't have to be as polarizing as it's often treated. And I don't think a lot of companies have figured that out yet, and so that's where I come in to help. And I think that's my largest benefit when being brought on. It's not even making this stuff. There's a lot of people that are very technically proficient with all the tools and do different things, but it's the intentionality that I can bring and the reasoning in the creative direction that is, I think, why my production studio has been able to be, relevant.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
You have to incorporate the cultural understanding and how to navigate the kind of like, both the excitement, enthusiasm, and the backlash against AI, and kind of like figure out a way to make that work for whoever you're working with in terms of like their brand positioning and how they want to sort of like juxtapose themselves against this new way of doing things. That's really interesting.
Exactly. And there's always going to be people that are upset about it. That's the nature of it. But those people, you can't change their minds.
And that can be a good thing.
Yeah, and it can be a good thing. The extra publicity can be good. But if you're only aiming for negative just so that people talk about you, is that going you're always weighing the odds of, is it going to help you more than it hurts you? Yeah, we might, one of the recent ones for that, the American Eagle campaign, the Sydney Sweeney one that blew up and people were so upset about and was so much. The conversation with that one was they weighed their options in the room, and it made more sense for them to run that ad knowing that they would get that much backlash. Why? Because nobody was talking about American Eagle before that. Why
Was that was that American Eagle or was it Gap?
No, it was
American Eagle.
It was American Eagle.
Gap did the
Gap
dancing.
Did the counter to that, as far as I understand. I'm not too deep in sort of American advertising, but my understanding is Gap did kind of like a counter campaign to that.
Yeah, it was like the people organically or just like cleanly dancing in like Gap clothing, and it went like super viral. Yeah.
Man, I haven't even seen that one, so I don't know. But that's like that's the game though, is that you're trying to figure out how to spark as much media attention as possible, but at the end of the day, it needs to benefit sales. Your advertising needs to have some, I mean, the goal is to have ROI. That's not always important. Sometimes relevancy is social currency and that can lead to it down the road. But if you're doing something, I see a lot of small brands doing that, trying to make viral videos on Instagram. All right, so you're a small restaurant in a rural town in the center of the country, and you go super viral. Awesome. Who's coming to your restaurant? None of those people. They're all over the world. They're not flying out to come to your restaurant. Like, it doesn't. Yeah, going viral isn't everything for a company. It's more important to hold a steady brand identity and target the right people.
Yeah, man.
For sure.
Crazy times. I want to know. So, like, what is your overall view on what is happening in the AI landscape now from where you're sitting? Because there are, at this point now, there are a few accounts that I know have larger followings than you, but these guys are posting now like 5 to 10 times a day, and they're like churning out Sora videos, and it's like that kind of posting. And while there's still a little bit of thought going into it, it's not like you built this off of pure intention. Um, what do you think of where everything is at now, and kind of like the tools that are at the top of the food chain for everyone?
I think that my goal is by no means to be the biggest Instagram creator. You know, uh, you guys know Rafik Anadol?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's like my idol. He's who I hope to be. I love what he has done, right? And I got twice as many followers on Instagram as that guy. That guy has a museum in LA. He did the cover for Time magazine, right? His art is phenomenal and it's world renowned. He is the only true artist in the space, like as far as like a fine arts person, like he's the one, right? And we're hoping to get a bunch more of us there, right? Like that's the goal with what I do, is that I want it to be even in the same conversations as stuff like this. I don't want to be considered a large Instagram influencer. That's just a platform to get the visibility. I want to do this. I want people to see my work. I want to be able to share it with the world in a way that's, I think, much more respected than just an internet thing. And, it's all very cool, and much respect to everybody for what they want to do. Because also past that, go out there and hustle. If you are posting Sora videos and got 2 million followers doing that, good, do that. Go feed your family, figure out how to, like this. It's an awesome life to be living. This is another one that I filmed. That one's me, and then my stepson in the video. But yeah. So the goal is to create a space in this landscape for the fine arts and something, creating the highly respected place for artists, to be.
So in that goal, what could be like a, speak it into existence? What is a place or a thing you would like to see your work on or at, like an actual specific, because I know you have one.
Yeah. Man, because I've had a few that have been really, really cool. I've had a few that have been really, really cool. That last year when I flew out to that one in Korea off the backs of that collab video we did, that you should have been there with me. It's okay. They all saw your face, nice and big up there speaking. It was very cool. But yeah,
Was that the ramen one? That was the ramen one.
That was the ramen
right?
one right there. You scroll past. Yeah, right there. They hired a ballet dancer to do a performance in front of this video on stage for 1,000 people in South Korea, and then had me come talk about it. And Boog too. He sent me a video to play because he couldn't come with. But stuff like that. They hired a performer to come out and created a piece around this, and then like those types of things are very special and very cool. But I've been in talks for other, kind of in that pocket of like Rafik just put out that he did this whole piece for the One World Trade Center that plays on this giant wide billboard. I was in talks about that. The timeline was short and what they were asking for was kind of crazy, so it didn't materialize, but like I was reached out to about it. And those are the types of things that I'm hoping to see. And not and they weren't doing it so they could be like, look at this AI piece on here. They were doing it because they really like what I make and they wanted something beautiful. And that I loved. And so I'm hoping for more opportunities like that in big, on a world scale. In the very early days, I was approached, and again, stuff that didn't materialize because what was being asked was not something possible. But I was approached about doing some stuff for the Olympics, that would have been the Paris Olympics. That
Can
happened.
you say more about anonymized
Mhm.
any of these? Doesn't have to be the Olympics one. Like, what specifically are folks asking for, and why is it not possible? Like, I mean, I can imagine 1,000 things that are impossible with AI right
Yep.
now because I know the limitations well myself. But I think it's really interesting to talk about that.
Yeah.
Also, for the sort of noobs out there who are like curious and want to sort of make stuff, because they often are kind of like, I want to do this. I want to do like a 50-minute Sora video. How do I do it? Right. And so can you say more about that? Like what's the delta between these requests and reality?
Absolutely. So the the Olympics one was really just a misunderstanding of how it all works. They wanted, and this was years ago, right? Because this was going to be for the Paris Olympics. So like they were one of the first people to approach me when I first blew up. So I also had no idea how anything worked. But one thing that I did know was that doing a render took a lot of time, and they wanted real time. The goal of what they wanted was they wanted to do live instant replays where the athletes would turn into Greek gods, which is an awesome idea for the Olympics. Like that's so cool, but I'm not your guy for that because this stuff is not real time and I don't even know how to get you to that. Nowadays, I think that the way you would do that is with like a Wonder Dynamics and having rigged characters that you could fit in. It might be a little janky, but I think you could pull it off. Like we're getting there to where something like that's possible, but not with warp fusion. We're not we're not doing warp renders over the like that's not what's happening. And so like those were just flat out conversations. The other one that I was talking about, it was a pretty short window. I think it was a couple weeks, and the screen was like ultra wide. And when I say ultra wide, I mean so wide, and like the aspect ratio, I would have had to do so many different renders and patch them together and like a whole thing, and the timeline was too short for what I was going to need to work out for even where to begin with something like that. And I kind of had to be like, like maybe I can take a swing at it, but I'm not very confident in what I can get done. Because like I'm always down to try something that might not be possible, but I'm gonna need time and I'm gonna need the understanding that like we're working to get there together. You know, um, if it's I need this done in 8 days, that severely limits what I can even say yes to. And so that's kind of, and sometimes that just happens where people don't come across, they see my work and we're 8 days away from them needing something and they're like, do it now. And sometimes I can work that out if it's simple, but other times I kind of have to. So that's really, there's a lot of expectations around this stuff being a magic button and very quick. And that's not always the case. I mean, even the Raekwon video, people ask how long we spent on it. Man, I mean, that was a whole month of us doing like 8-hour Discord sessions and just like really, really in there, man. We worked so hard on that because it's not a quick and easy thing, especially if you want it to be good.
It's such a funny thing how the misconception around how this stuff works exists on both ends of the spectrum, right? Like you have the very high end that you describe, like sort of super fancy high end marketing departments with like, you know, then they'll have these like ideas of like, we need it in real time and it has to be 18K and we need it tomorrow, right? And then like that's impossible. And then you have like the same types of misconceptions on a different scale, but similarly impossible from like folks who are just starting out. And they kind of like have these like very specific ideas of how it should work and what they want to be doing. And so they haven't yet sort of like hit that moment where they, you know, where they had to sort of like figure it out and kind of like learn about, okay, what are the tools, what can they do? There's lots of different tools, each has their own weaknesses and strength, and you can combine them, but there's always going to be like some trade-off involved. Plus, and I guess that's like a good maybe last thing we could talk about, because we're coming up to the hour. It's kind of like when you in your work, can you say more about like iterations and like how many, what's your ratio of output versus posts?
It's different all the time, you know. Sometimes like that spaghetti one that was huge. That was a first try. I found the
Yeah.
video. I was like, I'm gonna try this with it. I ran 24 frames of it and was like, that looks pretty good. I ran the whole thing, and that's exactly what materialized on screen. Very little iteration because everything just kind of came together with it perfect.
Yeah.
On the other hand, that one a little bit ago of me and my son, it's that one. That one took me 4 days of doing runs because it just didn't look how I want. Like, him running in was kind of like morphing too much with the ground and kind of doing a weird thing, or sometimes with the transparency thing with the water, the people will turn back into people, which is bad, or they'll just completely turn a different color, or like random weird artifacts. And working around those and figuring out which control net is like causing a bottleneck uh, is a huge hassle. So it kind of just depends. And then lots of times I do stuff that's just not very good. I'll take an idea to completion and it just kind of sucks, so I don't put it out. Most of the time it'll show up on the second or third page down the road because it'll be good enough to share regardless. It's just not what I want on here. But yeah, it's kind of different all the time, but I'm not really like in the early days I was sitting around, I was doing this all the time. I was making stuff for Instagram every day. I don't really do that as much now. I kind of like spend the week coming up with a concept and then sit down and take it to completion and then move on to the next. But like, see, this is one that I did that with. I wanted to do a candle. I kind of hated it, but I thought it was good enough to throw on an account just to be like, here it is. And I think it did pretty good. What, it's got like 7,000, it's got 250K plays, you know, so people liked it, but it wasn't like my favorite by any means. The same with all those Rose ones down there. Those were all, the funny thing about those, that first Rose one that's on there has like 30 million plays on TikTok. People loved it over there. That is also made with your SDXL flow.
I recognize a lot of these dance videos because I used them too when I was doing this stuff during this time period. Like it's funny. There were like there was a group of specific dancers that we just like were our go-tos, and they also enjoyed us using their stuff. And it was just, this whole time period has a very fond place in my memory.
Absolutely.
I just love that everything you mentioned, like down to the process and the selection in the rendering of the videos, just comes down to what you've been iterating, which is this intentionality, right? It's just like really amazing to see.
Thank you. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing, is that like through the choosing of videos, I'm looking for stuff that makes me feel a certain way. You know, I'm not just looking for what's super viral. Actually, there's a bunch of stuff in here that like that, the soccer ball one recently, that off the rock, that did like huge numbers. It did like 15 million or something or more. I think it's like 20 million now. Yeah, that first one, scroll down a little, one more right there. That one. Yeah, that one. That guy wasn't like big by any means. He's growing all the time, but like I found the video and I was just like, it's perfect for what I can do if I can get a good mask on him and the ball. He's at the right angle. It's exactly what I want to be able to build this scene. And it just was huge. It blew up, and there's like, I got followed from so many like professional soccer players because of this. Like, and me,
so
not a soccer guy, very much so a baseball guy, but like I just loved the vibe of it because I felt like it had the same feeling that I wanted to capture from that, of just like going outside and playing a game,
It's got something super mesmerizing going on, right? Especially when you consider that it's kind of like embedded in some doom scrolling session of I don't know, like
of my stuff.
a live octopus cooking recipes, Ukraine war footage, and then you kind of like, oh, a little water person playing with a football. How is it doing that?
That
It's absolutely
that
incredible.
that's actually a really interesting way to think about, to like approach the content creation, is like, okay, as we're doom scrolling, what does our initial 5 minutes of interaction with the device feel like and look like, and what can we make to actually pattern interrupt the chaos?
Yeah, well, no, exactly, right? Because you can interrupt it in multiple ways. Mine act is like a checkpoint, like a rest spot. It's somewhere
Yeah.
where you can kind of chill
The
out for a
campfire.
second. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Dark Souls bonfire. It's basically, yeah, bro. It's a little bit. It's the safe room in Resident Evil. You know, and I like that, of giving a little break to that. On the other side, Tyler's is supposed to really pop out and be jarring. It is the polar opposite of the safe room, but like that is also good because it pulls you out of the immersion of just the random doom scroll, and you're like, what is this? Which is awesome.
But it's also infinitely harder to come up with ideas on that end, because the world is increasingly more and more shocking and polarizing, just as it is regularly.
That, well, and same thing on my side though, is people, once people have seen something, they've seen it, and you kind of have to keep finding the next thing to do. And at this point, I'm now far enough into it, you'll see me kind of starting to go back to the like leaf dancers that I was doing like a year ago, and that's because it was a year ago. Those videos are now nostalgic, so I can circle back and do stuff with like that was a long time, 73 weeks ago, over a year ago, year and a half ago. I can circle back and I can do stuff like that again, and it brings up those same feelings for people. They're not bored of it. They want to see stuff like that again because nobody else is doing it. And so eventually I'll be taking a break from the water droplets, and then a while later I'll come back and I'll do new ideas with those. And now I kind of have this circulating thing, and so I'm a little bit less pressed about what's the next new idea and more I can just make stuff.
The last question I wanna ask you, because, and I know this is something that you and I have talked about in private quite often, but how, during your like posting every day time frame, and this is similar to the question that we asked Bennett last week, how do you feel when you see so many other people kind of like, whatever Gerde does, I'm doing? And it almost in a way starts to, it can feel like it's saturating your idea before you even get to enjoy your idea.
Yeah, that used to bother me a lot. I think when it was such a more common thing, it doesn't happen anymore because I outlasted the crowd of people that were looking for the next new thing. Nobody's doing animate diff renders anymore. Mm-hmm. It's just me, which is a great place to be. Like it has become now my thing, which is awesome. But for a while, like It only sucked on the side of I felt like it cheapened what I was trying to do sometimes, because people would be copying what I was doing in theory, but without the same sentimentality to what it was. So they would be taking my looks and ideas and trying to imitate them, but they'd be doing it with just different vibes, just different vibes that didn't align. And it wasn't that I was mad at them for doing that. I understand that you're just trying to find your own space in this too. The only thing that bothered me was it felt like I was getting grouped together so much with the people doing that, and like the work was getting grouped together, and I was like, no, I really want my work to stand as its own space. I don't want it to be categorized in with the rest of this, because I don't feel like it aligns. I want it to, and so now it finally does. It stands completely by itself. Nobody else is doing stuff like this, uh, and so now this entire genre of media in the like animate diff looking stuff like this, I basically am in charge of the tone of the genre, and like that's really cool to me. And I hold a lot of respect for that. And obviously I would love to see more people join in and do stuff in it. And do whatever you want. You can copy my look and do completely different things if you want to do that. Um, but like I think that was the only the only reason I ever felt that way about anything, was just because I'm very protective over the energy that these videos are giving off.
Well, man, on that note, Gertie, you, my friend, are a legend. I tell you this all the time. You already know. And it just like, I really hope that if anyone got anything from this hour, or anyone that's going to watch this on YouTube after gets anything from this hour, it's that intentionality matters. And it 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 just goes to show, like, it doesn't matter what the tool is, as long as there is intention and thought behind what you're making. And you are the number one poster child for that being true. So thank you for joining us, and for coming on, and hopefully we can circle back with you after, you know, your stuff is projected on the Louvre or something.
One day we're hoping for it, man. I'm gonna keep pushing, keep trying new things, and we'll see where life gets us. It's been a fun ride so far.
Well, hopefully when we launch in a few weeks, we can do something with you and see how you can put your own spin and bring some of your creative intelligence to what we're doing at Glyph. But other than that, Gerde, my friend, thank you. Why don't you let all the people know, even though I'm sure they already follow you, all the places they can follow you and keep up with you?
It's Gerde got it, Gerde does it, Gerde made it. Any of those accounts, if you go from the bottom up, you go Gerde made it, that'll lead you to Gerde got it in the bio, and then, or Gerde does it in the bio, and then Gerde does it will lead you to Gerde got it in the bio. So you can all three of them pretty easy. It's harder to go the other direction. You can also find me on the PlayStation Network at Gerde got it 9. And come play Arc Raiders with me, because that's my entire life right now, is playing Arc Raiders with the boys. So outside, no, in all seriousness though, yeah, man, we're all just regular people, and we like making stuff. So yeah, give me a follow, shoot me a DM if you like, or comment on stuff, and I like to respond to things when I can.
Yes, folks, we just put the link into the chat. Please follow Gerde and his amazing work. And thank you, Gerde, for coming on the stream. That was super fun, insightful, inspiring, interesting, cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, I definitely also can't wait to check out Glyph when it launches. I've been seeing some great things from Tyler and from our guy Enigmatic E, who out there is with a new baby. I gotta go congratulate him on that too. But you guys have been making it look like an awesome place to create.
Yes, we are very sad that E could not have been here for the past 2 weeks, but he's back in December. But once again, congratulations to him on the baby. Guys, go follow Gerde. And if you are not already following us, do yourselves a favor. Follow us on everything at HeyGlyph, especially on the YouTube. We are posting bomb tutorials every week to help you up your creative AI game. So come follow us. If you make something cool with us, please tag us so we can see it and we can repost it.
There's a question in the chat. Can
Oh.
Glyph make commercials? And the answer is yes. Any sort of AI video stuff you want to be doing, you can do it with Glyph, and that includes commercials. So
Here, wait, real quick, while we're here, because I actually think Gerde probably hasn't seen this. I want to pull up the it's on your account, Fabian. I want to pull up the POV of the fly, because that is my favorite thing in the past couple weeks. Let me just find it. I know the thumbnail very well. It is very.
it feels
Yep,
like
there
this
it
was forever ago.
Boom. Okay, so wait, I'm gonna pause this. So this is made entirely in Glyph in an agent called Infinite Cling by Fabian right here. I love that video. I love that video.
Sorry, my OBS keeps crashing for some reason. I'm not gonna fix it now, but yeah, that was a fun one. It's just all done in one chat session with the Infinite Cling agent.
Awesome. Well, guys, you know where to find us. You can always talk to us on X. Gerde, my friend, thank you. And yeah, we'll get you guys back here next week, same time, same place. I think next week is just going to be the Glyph crew, and we're going to make some AI slop for you guys or something. So we'll see you guys same time, same place next week. Gerde, thank you. Go follow him. We're out, guys. Take care, everyone.